what we are calling drama today is one form of performance. But there's always been dramatic performance within our cultures. It's just that it wasn't constructed in the way it's constructed now, where you build a theater and you advertise, people come and sit and watch, and then other people come on stage and perform. It didn't necessarily happen that way. And it didn't necessarily happen only in a secular way. Okay? Because you have plays. If you go to Kwanjula, that is a play. Okay? Because everyone is assigned a role. Everyone has a part they must perform. And if they don't do it, the next person can't do their part. Is that not correct? It's a play, but it's not a secular play. It's a play located within an important cultural activity. But it is still a performance. Okay? The things that happen, like sometimes here in Buganda, when you arrive at the home of the place as the visiting delegation, sometimes they pretend that they don't know who you are. Isn't it? They'll say, no, you've come to the wrong house, this is not the place, and whatever. Isn't that acting? Yeah, but it's acting within a non-secular context. It's acting within an actual real-life important cultural context, but you're acting, okay? And that's possibly why we got into this mess. Because when you say play, say in Luganda, you say, oh, zanya, zanya. You tell a kid play. What then happened is that, let me invent a word, it was nounized. It was turned into a noun. Okay? And so, what do we call plays in Luganda here? Okay. This is a complete mistranslation. Okay? Because when we're on stage acting, we're not playing. So why are we calling it a game? Because a game, omuzanyo is a game, literally. But we are calling plays, which are some of the most serious things you might do in your life. We're calling them games. And we even take it further and refer to sports, football and things. We're saying so when people say mizanyo in Luganda, in journalism, they literally mean anything from basketball to drama. Okay? This is what I'm saying. So I'm saying it's a complete mistranslation, because a play means something different in English. A play means to do a thing that is a representation of another thing. The entire concept of drama, as we have it today, in my view, has been reduced to the idea of making people laugh. Okay? And the best actors and the best playwrights were conceived those who made the funniest plays. Or not necessarily the funniest plays, but the plays that made people laugh the most. And that then led to the idea that people who do drama cannot possibly be serious people. Because you're basically there to make people laugh. Okay? You fool around. You do things that entertain and amuse people. And therefore, the whole idea is the opposite of what you're doing here, because you're sitting around asking very serious questions. Okay? Nothing to do with laughing. It's not a laughing matter at all. But that then affected the whole way in which drama was practiced and the whole way in which drama was learned. Okay? And the whole way in which drama was marketed. And that therefore affects all these questions you're asking. What is an actor? What is good acting? What is good writing? What is a good director? What is a good play? How do you choose a play? How do you make people act? How do you walk on stage? That's why I'm saying I'm seeing a huge amount of interconnectedness in the questions that you've asked. Did anyone see this play for my negativity?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm bringing it up because I directed that one as well at last year but one's theatre festival, KITF. That question comes up. The first conversation you have with the author, who's also normally also going to be the actor, is, why did you write this play? An essential part of writing a one-man play is that you've got to have very strong feelings about the topic. So strong that you're taking it personally. Because he got into poetry because his experience of studying law made him too aware of the illegalities involved in the process of managing this country. He basically saw that the law doesn't work. And this affected him as a human being, and he went into more and more poetry about it, which he always had a talent for. And another thing you have to know about people of a certain age group who studied law, people in their 40s now or late 30s, they may have been the last group whereby to be admitted to study law in Makerere, somewhere in your high school you had to have studied literature. I think either at O-level or A-level you had to have passed literature, English literature, in order to be considered to be put on the law course if you passed your A-levels. Are you getting it? That requirement no longer exists. So there's a certain type of lawyer who is rather married to ideas and debates and history and literature. And there's a certain type of lawyer who is not. They just know the technical mechanics. The law says this, the law says that. Whereas these ones, they tend to approach the law in terms of how literature shows you it has been historically applied to people. Because a lot of literature, a lot of plays are about people battling with authority, isn't it? And how is the law functioning on whose side and so on and so forth. So let's agree, maybe someone can take notes. A strong personal commitment to the idea. Okay? So in other words, it must be something you really feel in your heart. The critical element of a one-man play is that you're really managing, almost at a psychological level, problems you have been having. Okay? Because Kagai is a very deeply troubled person. He's an extremely angry man. Okay? Ntarimini was very affected by the experience of his cousin. And I'll tell you all this because you see, Ntarimwine is the son of the brother of the king of Ankole, the one who was the king then. These are people who are in Ankole called Abahinda, the royal clan of Ankole, at least among Abahima. Something like 4 of that king's brothers died in the process of the wars that brought Museveni to power. If you hear those names, Mwesigwa Black, have you heard people talk about these people? Fred Rubereza, and then there's another one. These were all from the same clan, okay? And so for them, their attachment to NRA is extremely emotional, okay? Because their family lost a lot of people supporting Museveni, okay? So he wanted to tell his cousin's story, okay? So again, there's blood in it. Do you get what I'm saying? And I've told you about Seremba. So I'd say that those are the 2 critical things. The beauties are that there's no structure, okay? You simply put the words down. Your style of delivery is up to you. And maybe you'll work with the director. Your choice of words is up to you, okay? There's literally nothing else to do. If you, in the writing, I'm talking about the writing, you just write it. Unload yourself onto paper, and then you go for it, okay? Your challenge is every line and every word has to have the capacity to hold the attention of the audience. So you've got to constantly be building up and bringing new information and giving them suspense, okay? It's really that simple. I wouldn't say that there's anything more to it. But I would really suggest that if you're not tortured by anything or anybody, don't write a one-man play, because then the one-man play will torture you. It's very, and sometimes, again, because it's a one-person play, the way you write might not allow you to have an interval. Why? An interval can take the actor out of their character and they fail to get back into it. Okay? Because the problem with acting a one-person play is that there's literally zero room for a mistake. Okay? You literally cannot forget anything, because then you'll get completely lost. If you jump a sequence in the narrative, if you forget a line or two, you'll confuse yourself and you'll confuse the audience, and when you try to recover, you'll get into deeper water and the whole thing will collapse. So normally when you're writing a one-person play, you write it without a break. Okay? Because it's easier for the person to get into mood and character and just go until they have to stop, until there's nothing left to say. Why are you writing? Okay? Why are you writing? Now, once you've answered that question, to some extent, you don't have to have a full, complete, comprehensive answer. Your next question is, what do I think is the best way of saying this on stage? Are you getting it? If I tell it to them as a joke, will they understand it more? If I show it to them as an experience of extreme pain, will they understand it more? If I present it as a riddle, playing with words and ideas and whatever, will they understand it more? Okay. If I use a lot of emotional language and especially anger, will they understand it more? Okay. So my own personal view is that you shouldn't concern yourself with these questions, these issues. That's my own view. Because if you're writing especially for industries like television industry, it's all very clearly categorized. I'm writing comedy, I'm writing crime, I'm writing this, I'm writing that, I'm writing happy stuff, I'm writing sad stuff. They're all categories and subcategories and so on. I think these get in the way of you Africans having your own voice come out. Do you get it? Okay? Because you're writing about, by and large, we write about what we know, isn't it? We write about our experience that we think is relevant to people like us to also understand that experience. Okay? The best writing is when you write about something you are very familiar with, hence going back to that. Okay? So, some of the experiences you're writing about don't fit into the pre-existing styles of writing. Do you see what I'm saying? Because these styles of writing are coming from other spaces and other experiences that are not necessarily yours. Okay? So if you want to go and work in a theater industry in another country, maybe you can do all that. But I'm assuming you're here because you have a passion for what you do. And so I think you should stop at that point. Write the way it works for whoever you're trying to talk to, even if whoever you're trying to talk to is only yourself. Let other people then define its style. Are you getting it? Otherwise, you're constantly trying to wear clothes that don't necessarily fit you. You know what I'm saying? And you spend too much time trying to fit into the clothes instead of thinking about what is inside the clothes. So therefore, how to write plays and approaches to writing, and what is a good play? What is a good play is a more technical question, okay? And I can give you a technical answer to that. But I'm saying that here, these three are one question. We all know what a play can be. It's when you assemble people to what's the word I want to use? A play is about telling lies in order to tell the truth. Okay? Do you get that? You want to talk about truths in the world and make people think about them. You want to expose something. You want to educate people. You want maybe people to just think. So you contrive moments where people are literally acting out a situation, demonstrating a situation that carries the ideas you're concerned with, okay? But everyone on the stage is wearing clothes that don't belong to them. They're in a costume. They are carrying a name that is not their name because they're acting a part. So you are a king when in real life you're not a king. You're a housemaid when in real life you're not a housemaid. You see what I'm saying? You say, oh, I'm going to massacre, and you walk off stage and stand. So you're not going to massacre, you're actually off stage. But the audience believes you've gone to massacre. They accept the idea that, oh, now he's gone to massacre. Okay? You fall down and they say, oh, he's dead or she's dead. And you're not dead. So you're lying. Okay? You are doing things that are not real. You're using names that are not yours. You're lying. But you're lying in order that a truth might be told. Okay? And it is important because if some of the things that are said in plays in countries like Uganda and elsewhere, someone were to go and stand in a television studio and say the exact same thing, they'd be arrested. Okay? Because sometimes the truth is too complicated to be received direct and live. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay? So if you have to stand up and say that, I know for a fact that the president did X, Y, and Z, you're going away, isn't it? But if you write a play where the president does X, Y, and Z, you might just get away with it. Okay? So to tell the other truth, you convert it into a lie on stage. I think that's the only thing you need to know about how to write a play. What are you trying to say? What are the essential points that you think people need to do? Okay? Because the way that you do it is extremely broad. From what he was asking about, what he called silent plays, to very complicated plays with a lot of people coming on and off the stage, to people singing, musicals. Are you getting me? So that's why I'm saying, number one, these three are one question. And I would really strongly recommend that you do not burden yourselves with trying to fit into what you have heard about, crime and this, that. Those emerged for their own reasons in other places. And they're good. There's nothing wrong with them. But they're not you here now. Okay? Then you have to understand what is your own experience and background. Where do you come from as people that you might want to talk about things? And then you start writing. Okay? And then you do what the lady says. Once you've collected enough body of material, you can gather a few people who you know, colleagues and whatever, and say, I'd like us to read this. And you tell me, does this work or does it not work? Okay? You'll arrive at some kind of consensus. Then you can talk to a director. That's all I would say about that. Okay? Yeah. So what is a good play? It depends. The only person who can decide what is a good play, I think, is the person at whom the play was aimed. Did the message get home or not? Then we'd say it's a good play. Okay? So a good play is one that puts you in harmony with your intended audience. Let me define it like that and stop there. Ultimately, a play is written to be acted on stage. Okay? So, another way you could say is that you're writing for a director. Okay? And that is why you have seen certain stories in life, certain plays and even films in life, being done over and over and over again by different directors. And each one tells the story in a rather different way from the other. Okay? For a new generation sometimes, and so on and so forth. So now, methodologies and enhancements are about how you bring, let me call it flavor simply, to either one of these three stages. Okay? How do you order them? How do you prolong them? And so on. Okay? The problem was that it depends also on what you're trying to do. And it comes to the question you were asking about. Because in the 1990s, a lot of plays weren't written. A lot of the most popular groups didn't actually have an actual script. They had very popular actors. And they had actors who wished to become popular. Okay? I don't want to go into details about the internal management of their groups, but it had an impact on what was a good play and how is a play written. Okay? Because at some level, some of these stage performances you were seeing were actually also in the same moment a salary negotiation. You don't know what I mean. They had these stories. A businessman is doing well in life, gunman comes, robs his business, kills him, his family is now dumped in the village, and the daughter is being menaced by an uncle and she wants to come back to town. These kind of stories, you know what I mean? Okay? There was usually a comic relief character. You all know what comic relief is. Yes. But the general idea was that the more popular you were with the audience, the better your chances were of demanding a higher salary within the group. Okay? And so what would happen is that everyone, when they had their moment on stage, would want to milk that moment to get the best possible reaction from the audience, so as to make themselves more indispensable to the group than the other actors. So if you were supposed to come on and say in one line that, oh, the cow is dead, okay, and walk off, that was what you were supposed to say in the play, that was your line. You would rather come on and get into all sorts of things. Say it in the most dramatic, elongated, comical, physical way possible. Do you see what I'm saying? So that the audience would remember you as an individual. So a line that was supposed to take 20 seconds would take 3 minutes. And everybody is doing this. It even got worse. They even used to bring their friends and relatives into the audience. And the trick was that when I walk on stage, you guys all cheer and clap. Okay? So that the group managers will think, hey, this guy has a big following, so we can't minimize his role, we can't remove him from the group, and if he demands a bigger salary, we might have to give it to him. Okay? So that's why writing is important, you see. Because you tell someone, I don't care how popular you are, this is your line. Say it and go away. Okay? But because they wanted to also milk the audience generally, which largely meant making people laugh. So everything was funny. Somebody gets shot, it's funny. Okay? Somebody sees a ghost, it's funny. Somebody has a child that is stillborn, they still find a way of making it funny. You see what I'm saying? Somebody gets raped, it's funny. Because laughter is a very cheap emotion. All right? And also, laughter as a human emotion is often an emotion used to cover up your real feelings. You know this. Yeah. So people laugh when they're in an awkward situation. People laugh when they're extremely angry. People laugh when they're extremely sad. Because it's a mask it helps you keep your composure. So they were exploiting the cheapness of laughter. And your popularity was based on how many people you could bring into the auditorium and how long you could make them laugh for. So you got these theaters that were like, they were herding people in there and then bombarding them with 5 hours of what is supposed to be comedy. Okay? And at that time, we were being told that these were what? Good plays. That is why I'm saying this is a wrong question ever to ask. All those big groups who were there in the 1990s, we were told they were doing good plays. Okay? Where are those plays now? Because if it's a good play, it should continue being staged, presumably. If it's a good play, people will still be talking about it, presumably. If it's a good play, a new generation will go up to those older people and say, we want to restage your play. You see what I'm saying? The way someone can decide, I want to restage Shakespeare, even though Shakespeare died like 4 centuries ago. Okay? I'm not a fan of Shakespeare, I'm just giving you an example. Okay? So that's why I'm saying some of these questions, you should not really, if you want to be a writer of plays, you should not really be asking yourself these questions, and you should not be disturbing yourself with these ideas. Focus on yourself. Why are you writing? Are you bored? Are you angry about something? Are you looking for money? Because if you're looking for money, then these questions might be relevant. But in my opinion, these questions, when overthought about, lead to those kinds of theatrical practices in the end, which literally burnt out an audience, a generation of theater goers. It's literally, in my view, where stand-up comedy came from. Because you found that the business of managing these groups of 30 actors and moving with them from theater to theater was extremely expensive, unless you didn't pay them. And how do you avoid paying them? There were so many ways. The junior actors would be given books of tickets and told, what you do, go among your friends and people you know, sell them, and keep the money. That's your salary for the next production. Okay? And so, in the end, the stories disappeared. The stories stopped being stories. Okay? And writing, what I'm trying to get at, writing died as a practice on stage. Because now it was your capacity to grab and hold an audience that was dictating. So people were doing anything to continue holding an audience. And that meant abandoning writing. In my view, a good play can be even something that is watched by one person in the audience, as long as they get the message. Demystifying the stage, okay, is what has killed the difference between stage and other mediums. Do you see what I'm saying? But it is supposed to be there. I think theater is more powerful than any other form of performance. Okay? I think it's more powerful than music. I think it's more powerful than film, when done right. But 3, I also think it's very important to shock people. So sometimes also to get people's attention, you need to shock them. You need to say things to them that they would never expect anyone to ever say to them. You know what I'm saying? And it's a way of knowing a person, because I have to know, if I want to really insult you, I have to know that what it is you find insulting. What are you sensitive about? What triggers you? Then that's what I focus on. So knowing your audience is not the same thing as liking your audience. And this is the part that people often find difficult. You have to really read as widely as possible. Read as many plays and other things from as many parts of the world as you can get hold of. Read as many biographies of creative people as you can get hold of. Have as many conversations as you need to have, or as you can have. Because there's nothing new that you're doing. Many people in this society and elsewhere have been confronted by the same problems. Here, elsewhere, historically, today, how did they cope? How do they deal with these things? And what were the lessons learned out of them?